name's Jose, and I'm a summer camp counselor at Lowell Observatory. And today we're going to do one of our science challenges. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the moon just changes shape? Have you noticed that sometimes it's not even there when you go out at night? Or maybe have you even seen the moon during the daytime? Well, if you've said yes to any of these questions, then this science challenge is for you. What we're going to need for this is we're going to need a notebook and we're going to need a pen or pencil. Any paper lying around the house will do, just something that you already have, right? And then we're going to go outside and we're going to draw the moon. I would pick a time that is convenient, maybe after dinner or right before bedtime, any time that you can stay on a schedule and go out every single night. Yeah, I said it. Every single night. That's where our challenge is going to be. We're going to challenge ourselves to track the moon every day. And we're going to see how it changes and moves through the sky. So with your pen and paper, you're going to go outside. You're going to locate the moon in the sky at whatever time you chose. And you're going to draw it as you see it. If you have a binocular or if you have a telescope, those could be helpful if you really want to get detailed with your artwork. Trust me, I like to draw a lot, so I probably would want to get as detailed as I could. But I don't have either a binocular or a telescope, so I had to draw it as I saw it with just my eyes. You're going to draw the moon, but you also want to make sure that you are noting some other things in your journal. This is how scientists do it, is we always keep detailed notes. You want to know what day is it? What's the date? April 7th, April 15th. Right? What time is it? Is it 9 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning? You got to note that down. And then of course, maybe pay attention to the weather. Is it clear out? Are there clouds in the skies? There's just one cloud, but it's not really bothering you, so you can still draw the moon. Is it blizzarding? You got to write that down. And then, of course, if you do see the moon, you want to describe its shape. Where in the sky do you see it? North, east, southeast, right? And also, you're going to draw what you see in the sky. And so, there's another challenge, is the moon, it doesn't always stay in the same place in the sky. In fact, it rises about 50 minutes later every single day. So that means that there's going to be some point where the moon is rising either way too late for you to stay up or maybe even really early in the morning. So you might actually want to shift your schedule from being a nighttime schedule to watching the moon during the daytime. And you might want to pick a time in the daytime that is also convenient for you to go out and look at the moon. I suggest sometime in the morning before you start your day. So this is what my moon phase journal looks like. Again, I started the challenge on April 7th of this year. So this is my very first entry. And you can see I did draw a picture of the moon as I saw it. So that's what it looked like to me anyway. I noted the date, the time. This was 9:10 p.m. It's always good to note if it's in the morning or in the evening. So you should write AM or PM there. I noted that the weather was clear, and I even described it. I said, well, it's a circle shape. And then I pointed out where in the sky I saw it, and I saw it in the southeast. And then I also wrote down the face, and that was a full moon. Extra L there. All right, full. So if you're not sure what the phase is, it's always good to, when you're done drawing your moon and making your observation, just go back inside and then try and look it up on the internet. There are lots of great resources that'll tell you about what the moon phase is. And then the next day, this should be 4/8, and yet I say 4/7. It was in fact 4/8, April 8th, at 9:16 p.m. It was raining. So I didn't actually get to see the moon that night, but I did make an observation, right? So I did note it in my journal, even if I didn't see the moon. So it's always good to note if it's raining or if you forget what happened that day and why it's not there. Now, you can see I also like to save space on paper. It was convenient that I didn't actually make any lunar observations for this next couple of days. So I put it all on one paper just to save a little bit of paper, you know? So you can see I went out at 9 o'clock or almost 9 o'clock on the night of April 9th, but I didn't actually see the moon. I couldn't find it in the sky. So that's when I went out the next morning, but I also couldn't find it in the sky. And it turns out the moon was right on the horizon or behind some buildings for me these days, which is why I wasn't able to see it. And then the next couple days after that, I made no observations because of the weather yet again. But I had transitioned my observation times to being 9 o'clock in the morning instead. And then, last but not least, this is the last few observations I've made. I finally was able to observe the moon again almost a week later on April 14th. And after looking it up, I found out that the moon was in the 3rd quarter. Also note that it was during the daytime. It was at 10 o'clock in the morning. I saw it in the western sky. Remember, you should write where you see it. I did not do that. But you should be consistent with yourself, more consistent than I've been. Now we're going to do this challenge for 28 days. Why 28 days, you ask? Well, that is the length of the lunar cycle. The lunar cycle. That is the length of the lunar cycle. It is the time from new moon to new moon. Now, while the moon technically has 28 different phases that it goes through, one for every day, there are only 8 phases that I'm going to talk about for this video. The first phase would be the new moon. If you go outside on a new moon day, don't be surprised if you don't see it, because it is going to look invisible to us. The nighttime side of the moon is facing the earth. It will appear dark. Also, it's going to be up as high as the sun in the daytime. The next phase after that would be the waxing crescent phase. So it's a crescent shape. It's going to look like a little banana. I like to call it the banana moon. And you'll see the waxing crescent setting right a little bit after the sun does. You'll see it in the early evening in the western sky. After that, we'll have the first quarter phase. That could be a little misleading because it's going to be a half circle shape or a half moon shape. In fact, it doesn't look like a quarter at all, right? The first quarter phase name comes from the fact that it is a quarter of the way through its full cycle. Following the first quarter phase, we have the waxing gibbous phase. Gibbous, not gibbon. Gibbon is a type of primate. A gibbous phase is going to be when the moon is just slightly bigger than half full. It's not quite full, but it's not half. It's going to be kind of like that, right? And then that next one after that will be the full moon phase. The last full moon occurred on April 7th. That's when I started this challenge. It was a convenient time for me. And you're going to see the moon fully lit. You're going to see a full circle shape in the sky. And that will be at its highest in the sky right around midnight. But you don't need to go out at midnight to see it. It's also when the moon is the brightest. Following the full moon, we're going to see the moon over the course of the next few days is going to appear to get smaller. We're going to go into a waning gibbous phase. More than half full, but less than full, right? And also, it's again, this weird shape here. After the waning gibbous, we have a third quarter. Again, something that sounds kind of confusing. Again, it's going to look like a half a circle for you. That means we're 3/4 of the way into the lunar cycle. After the third quarter, we have the waning crescent. Now at this time, you're going to have to be waking up pretty early in the morning if you want to see it. You're going to see it rising in the eastern sky before the sun does. And again, it's going to look like a little banana moon. And then back to square one again. We're going to have the new moon right after all of that. And the whole thing starts over. This whole thing takes about 28 days. And so I'm going to challenge you to go out every single day for 28 days and watch the moon and see how it changes and how it moves through the sky. And when you've completed the challenge, send in your awesome moon drawings to Lowell Observatory. We'll have some links right below in the comments down there. And you can send it to either the Lowell Observatory Camps for Kids Facebook page, Lowell Observatory's Facebook page, or send them directly to Todd Gonzalez or Kelly Ferguson, who are the leads for the camps at Lowell Observatory. And their contact information will be listed below as well. So thank you everyone for tuning into this science challenge video. Be sure to like and subscribe to Lowell Observatory.